may go and get a haircut because no, I've been saying that, but it's kind of something that I don't know. Can't say it brings anxiety, but I suppose it's the way I react to it. I've got my lemon water. Anxiety is a bit high, but it always is in the morning. It is what it is. There's no point fighting against it. Fighting against it makes it worse. Speaking of, I had a realisation this morning about what happened yesterday. I'm a bit anxious about talking about it. That's why I'm displacing. I will sit down here and try to talk through so there's lots of things going on, and it doesn't really matter where I start from, so I'll just start where it feels appropriate. So, as I was saying yesterday, I realise now what happened. It was PTSD, or at least PTSD was a big part of it, and I didn't know it was PTSD because, well, I may have had an idea, but I didn't have enough confidence that was what it is to stop me from calling the ambulance. I guess I just was insecure and I wanted reassurance, but either that or it was a weird roundabout way of just speaking to my wife, which I could have done at the beginning. But I was just afraid of disturbing her at work, because I always used to disturb my mother at work, and I guess it reminded me of that. But the thing is that this is different. This isn't just when I was phoning up as a teenager, Mum, what do I do about this? Mum, what do I do about that? No. It wasn't that. You know, it was like I was really, really, really worried, because one of the things happened was when I started doing this meditation, and when, I don't know what happened first, but when it felt like thinking stopped and there was still feeling, there was still seeing, there was still feeling, hearing, seeing. I don't know whether there was tasting or smelling. I don't know whether those were there as well, but I know there was definitely feeling, there was definitely hearing, and there was definitely seeing, or those seeing, but there was no thinking for a time. It may have been a very short time, and soon after that I just completely I'm someone who just thinks like a lot. So for me to stop thinking is like a scary thing. So anyway, I had this ringing in my ear. This is all over the place because I'm starting to remember when it happened but the ringing in the ear, I think, was prior to the panic. And what happened was that I got excited because the ringing in the ear reminded me of the ringing in the ear reminded me of what happened when I tried to kill myself, where I couldn't move, and when I was in a panic, I started I went in the meditation position to try and calm myself down and stop the bleeding, because I just didn't know what else to do. I couldn't get towels around my legs, I couldn't get anything in my arm, and all literally in that moment, and I will never forget that moment, all I had left, and it's bizarre because I tried to kill myself in the bath, so I had no clothes on as well, which was another very weird experience, to be sitting on my carpet with no clothes on. I don't want this to offend anyone talking about nakedness or whatever, but I'm just talking about it because this is what happened, and this is what I'm trying to process. And yeah, that was another reason why I was even more scared and embarrassed, and just because, when the police came, but by that point I sort of was relieved. Why am I saying the police? I guess that's why this is with the Freudian slip, maybe just the PTSD of the fear of the police now getting involved with mental health. Back then, I was just taken in the ambulance, and then mental health came later, and they were going to put me in psychiatric ward, and they said, we would be doing that, but your wife has come here and she said to us that she will take you back to yours and keep you safe while you're there, and she did. But the anger and the rage, because I remember I kind of done this in anger, and then obviously it hadn't worked, and then I was now left with even more anger. So, I didn't want to harm anyone. It was just, I just wanted to escape. And I thought it's either me or them in a way, because I had so much hatred. I was like, no, they've ruined my life one last time. I'm not letting them do it ever again. This is it. I'm getting back at them. But it didn't solve anything. It doesn't solve anything. It's just another scar, another wound, another really bad habit of wanting to escape. A bad habit of PTSD, and I really, really, really don't recommend it. I strongly can see now that suicide is really never the answer. Never the answer. It's one thing to be at a point where you're content with, you may be content with dying. And you may not want to go through any more treatment if it's something for physical health. There may be non-stop treatment, and you just may be exhausted with the treatment. You say, I'm just gonna, I want to just be at home with my family, and whatever happens because I'm not having any more treatment. I understand that, but that's very, very different. I understand if people are alone, they didn't have that. Maybe if I was alone, I wouldn't have done it, because I would have been scared to do it with no one there on the phone, because I said I didn't want to die alone. However, if I got to the point where I was absolutely desperate and I just couldn't bear existence anymore, and I didn't feel there was anything that came afterwards, then I still may have done so. I never know. But the PTSD, I know I'm going all over the place. Maybe it's ADHD, or I don't know what it is, but it's just the way my mind is working at the moment, because it's just, I guess, running 100 miles an hour because of the anxiety and the kind of the shocking realization of it. And I'd had build up of PTSD from that. When I go in the bathroom, I feel nervous, but this was like the worst it was. But in a way, that's a good thing, because now that I know that was the worst it was. Now I know if it happens again, it's a PTSD. It was almost like shell shock. And I don't know what the experience was in meditation, because I think when the panic started, it then I think became a PTSD attack, or whatever that is. It then just became something else. I think it was going into something really peaceful, possibly for a while, and thinking, stop. But because I remembered that the ringing in the ear, hearing obviously hadn't stopped, and there's this ringing in the ear, and this ringing in the ear was giving me the memory of when I was sitting there and I'd lost so much blood, and the combination of it with losing the blood, and then I went into the meditation position to just try and calm myself down and stop the bleeding, and it did work. I was just noting afraid, even out loud, and it was very fast. I was hyperventilating, and I just continued to note really fast, afraid. It was like, I just kept saying that, and they probably didn't know what was going on. Like, when he came in, they realized I was hyperventilating, but they didn't know probably why am I saying afraid. I mean, some people may have thought, okay, he's doing what he needs to do to calm down. Somebody may have thought, well, different things. I have no idea. But I know that that's what I was doing. That was all I knew how to do to calm down. So just something just realization just hit me. But I'm gonna keep this one internally, because it's pretty something that I'm still processing this other one. So I'm gonna sit with that, because I'm not 100% sure. It feels like something I've just realized. We're still processing it. It reminded me of that, where the ears were ringing, and then I got confused, and I thought, because when I was a little bit anxious, and I kind of came out of the whatever was happening with the meditation, and then I sort of went back into it with this extreme confidence, which I realized now was just unhelpful. It was just an overexertion of effort. I then restarted the Vipassana with this extreme confidence, and the reason why there was this extreme confidence was because I remembered the ringing in the ear when I tried to kill myself, and then I got confused and thought, because I started to meditate and I tried to kill myself, that may have been a jhana, that's why I was ringing in the ear. No, it may have been possibly some spiritual experience, but it also could have been that, it could have been also a combination of things. It also could have well been that everything just got so intense, the ringing started because the brain is just misfiring, which is given that I did try to kill myself, it's possibly more likely. So this ringing in the ear, I thought, it gave me the confidence. I can now go back into that state. I don't need to be afraid, because it is the state. But of course, I got confused, and likewise, when someone is overly confident, there normally is a confusion, because there isn't really a reason to be overly confident. So it was more like a compensation. So I thought, I want to get back to that. And I got back to it. I got back to the PTSD. I got back to that exact memory. I had that memory of when I was sitting there on that carpet, and the ringing in my ear, and then when the ringing in the ear started, when I went into this meditation, rather than see for what it was and just process it and realize, okay, if my heart starts beating, then it's PTSD, and I can just roll with it and process it. I completely freaked out, because I thought something in the meditation had triggered a heart attack, which it can't even do. But it's because my brain remembered what had happened, and it thought it was reliving it. So it started to pump when I haven't lost any blood. And I had the same pain in my chest and tightness that I had when I was sitting there. Because it's like what they say, the body keeps score with trauma. This is what happened. It was a PTSD. There was no other reason for the heart to beat that fast. That's the only time it's ever done boom, 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 when I've heard it. And I don't think anyone said to me on the phone, it could have been PTSD. But because I was because I felt like their kind of judgment when I mentioned, whenever I feel like you mention to anyone when it's mental health or physical meditation, they always, it feels like this judgment and look at you when they're like you're crazy. I guess that's because a certain someone in my life, has said to me at times, there was once where I wanted to go on I was thinking of going on a meditation course, and they asked me, which there was a thing on the form, do you want to, you can request a single room, or you can go in a dormitory. And the dormitory, and the dormitory or the main room, and because of the anxiety I was feeling at the time, and I still feel like, I requested an individual room, and then the lady left a message on my answer phone, but left it in a way that was really confusing and sort of seemed contradictory, and sort of, you can have a room but you can't have a room. And I realize now what she was actually trying to get at was that if you really need a room, if it's really severe and it would be a huge problem in dormitory, then basically you can have the room, but otherwise if I suppose if we can convince you that we've got the confidence you'll be fine and you trust us enough to roll with that, something along those lines. But it was all confusing because it was all like kind of a bit like what I'm doing now, anxiety and going around the houses. But I can tell that she meant well looking back. And I said to my mum, I think they're getting at this, isn't it? With basically what they're saying is, if your mental health is so severe that you need your own room. And I was kind of stressed out because I'm feeling, everyone should have their own room, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, she kind of mirrored that with something, I said it in a way where it's like people should ideally, there should be some sort of just equality in a way where everyone just gets their own room, and then there'll be the person with their own room, people won't resent them, or why does he get his own room? And I thought it's nice in a way if everyone has their own room on a medication course. Maybe it's not always possible, and maybe some people are totally fine with the dormitory, and given the nature of the course, it is better to get used to that, even if it's snoring, it's just someone hearing, etc., etc. But anyway, mother at the time, look, I forgive her for it. I understand what she said. I'm not holding it against her. I'm just going to say what she said because it's just me processing it. She said, because I said, they may think someone with severe mental health won't have too much anxiety to stay in a room with others if they've been abused, or etc., etc., and they don't feel comfortable sharing a room with other people, or whatever gender that I may be, or it could be both. It could be we're not comfortable with either gender. It could be not comfortable with non-bi. It could be anything. That they're not comfortable with. And she basically said something along the lines of, isn't everyone that goes to meditation that has severe mental health problems? Isn't everyone? And it felt like a real judgment on me, but actually the way she said it may have been clumsy and hurtful, and maybe unconsciously she was content in doing that for whatever reason. I guess just making herself feel more assured that I'm okay type thing. It's these people that have the issue, these people that are seeking meditation, they're all crazy and they're seeking meditation to try and deal with their craziness. But it's hurtful, but it was, the way she would say it was hurtful, but actually what she said was what they called, they say white lies, which is people tell a lie because they don't want to hurt someone's feelings. This was like the opposite, which I don't know if this is this is exactly in that category. I don't know if this is appropriate terms. I apologize if it's not. But black truth. There's also something as a black truth. I don't mean, as I said, maybe I'm overthinking. I'm not meaning to be like, I don't want to offend anyone. That white lie, black truth. But I guess what it means is that there's a light. Someone will tell a lie that is like light, make someone feel better, and then the black truth, you could say dark truth, that it's like something that, like the elephant in the room, you can say that is true, that is painful to accept. The truth hurts, basically. It's painful because the truth hurts. But what I recognize now is that all types of people go to seek meditation for all different sorts of reasons, and they seek all different. They seek out and find all different types of meditation. But the Vipassana meditation that I've been talking about in these videos that Yuttadhammo teachers and other monks as well teach this Mahasi Sayadaw or labeling method of Vipassana. This method is a way of just seeing what is going on in the mind, whether it be extreme suffering that would be categorized as mental illness, or whether it be not lesser extreme, just the everyday mental issues that people have. I suppose the difference is when mental health issues are very severe, they get categorized, and there's this stigma that someone has either been in a psychiatric ward, or they've tried to kill themselves, or they're on medication, and there's all this stigma about it, which is unhealthy. And then sort of the people that still have the mental issues, but they function a lot better in everyday life, and they don't struggle with the same level of PTSD, etc., or they may not have PTSD, or if it is, it's a very mild PTSD. If they have that, then it's milder to the point where no one sees them as someone who has mental health issues. They're just seen as people who just in the category of mentally sound, not mentally ill. And in many ways, in a conceptual sense, that's true. That yes, they are suffering less with their mind, it would seem, but the ideally, I think the point of meditation is to see the truth. Don't just go into it when you're suffering, because if you go into it just when you're suffering, I can't say it's too late, because it's never too late, but it can be more challenging later in life, because lots of habits have been built up, and the habits have been more hardwired, so they're just harder to break. And that's what I found, and I've gone back and forth multiple times, and I hope this will be the last time I now maintain this practice for as long as moment to moment experience continues, and it's still appropriate to practice. I will continue the practice. So there was a element of truth in that, is that yes, a lot of people are drawn to it through suffering, through severe mental illness that they want to escape from. Then the realization comes that actually it's not about escaping for it, it's for seeing it what it is. So one is not making more of the experiences of having mental health issues, whether it be PTSD or anxiety or CPSD or CPTSD or OCD or ADHD, or whether possibly a combination in my situation of all of them. When I speak on the phone, a lot of the time, I'm very good at pretending, I guess, on the phone, where people don't see my body language, they don't see my facial expressions, they don't see the fear in my eyes, they don't see the trauma, they don't see all of that. I'm good at pretending I'm okay on the phone to your average person, a trained, consultant, EMDR consultant or something. They know, the guy I saw who's now retired, he knew straight away from the way I started communicating with him. He actually said to me, you're on the verge of something here, and I need to be really careful with you. And I guess he was as careful as he could be, but what was happening in my mind was just going beyond I was like, I can't go through this anymore. Anyway, I won't go around over that anymore, because it's probably not helpful. But he tried his best, and in many ways I learned a lot from him. And that's that. So with what I was saying about mental health, yes, as I said this already, but a lot of people who are suffering a lot with their mental health, which is mental health is basically just mental habits. That's what it's made up of. When they're struggling with their mental habits that appear to be very maladaptive in society, they seek meditation so sometimes they can function in society better, which is not, I would say, a terrible reason, but it's not, I would say it's not the best reason, but it's the best reason is to just see the truth about reality. That's the best reason to meditate, is to see the truth about suffering, to see the truth about reality, see the truth about what we call existence itself. What was I going to say? But yeah, so a lot of people do go through it to suffer already, but then there are people who just who go into it, and I think there's some suffering mentally, but not necessarily in the same way as PTSD or severe anxiety, which has been the case here. It's not necessarily that. It's they may have always had they may have had a mixed relationship with their parents. They may have had who knows what relationship with their parents, or they may have had just predominantly was their driver for meditation was that they were just trying to find a purpose. They could just see that what they've been told by their teachers at school, or what they've been told by their parents about what you need to do in life to be happily ever after, whatever you have to do, whether it be the good job, the kids, the house in the suburbs, whatever it is, they're told that will bring them happy. They either get it, realize that it hasn't brought them the happiness they thought it would do, or they don't get it, and no matter what they do, they can't seem to get it, and then they suffer because they don't get it. So they suffer when they want things and they get them, because wanting becomes a never-ending habit and never-ending clinging, and they suffer when they don't get it, because then there just becomes a never-ending anger with not getting it. And either way, it's a trap. Wanting endlessly is a trap, and so is constant aversion. Constant anger is also a trap. Greed and anger, in all their different forms, are basically something worth letting go of. So those people are not coming to it. So there was truth in it, that yes, a lot of, but I couldn't say how many go into it, to that how many, no idea how to quantify that. But that's why it was hurtful, because there is a fair bit of truth. But is that that's not really something to snigger at or sneer at, or that's actually something to admire. I think that's something to admire. I don't mean to be self-aggrandizing here, but I think if anyone who is suffering mentally decides, what, for me and for my loved ones, if I take this time to be alone, see what's going on with my mind and change my mental habits, then when I'm by myself, I will now have more peace, and my mental health issues may not go away totally, but they'll have less of an impact on my peace and happiness, and when by themselves, with others, even if it is severe illness, whatever it is, as Yu Tadami said in one of his videos, if someone knows the difference between a cup of rice and a glass of water, they can meditate. Anyone can meditate. Obviously, there are conditions that there are cases where, it would be dangerous for someone to meditate. It may well been for me that it may well have been dangerous many times in my life when I was practicing meditation and I wasn't doing it correctly. I still may not be doing it 100% correctly. It still may all be a mess. It most likely is in many ways. And I learned the hard way. And I definitely don't recommend just whatever your mental situation is, whatever your mental illness is, just do it regardless. It's fine for everyone. What I say is research it. Find a teacher such as Yuttadhammo, or another, or maybe someone, if he recommends you a teacher or someone that teaches the Mahasi method, someone that you feel comfortable. Find a teacher and check in with them for 5 minutes, 10 minutes a week, and discuss with them. And if they're experienced enough, they'll be able to sense, how much to start with. I would say don't push too hard at the beginning. Go easy on yourself. A mistake I made was, I would say, if I could go back and do it again now, which obviously I can't, but what I recommend to people is if you consider doing meditation, don't go into it too fast. You have to be kind to yourself. You have to, with mental illness and fear and all of that, you've got to, as Ajahn Sona says in one of his videos, bathe in loving kindness. Send out metta to anyone that you feel comfortable sending metta to, and then if you start with them and then go with people you feel less comfortable sending metta to, try to generate these feelings of loving kindness towards them, towards people that you may hold grudges against, you may have anger against. Try to do that, but even possibly as importantly, if not possibly more importantly, don't forget yourself in the mix. Don't forget you. Whether it means saying your name, sending out metta and saying your name, or sending out metta to this being, however you want to word it, but make sure, I don't know if this is recommended, so if this isn't recommended, then by all means, in the comments or something, please let me know, because I haven't actually checked this, whether it's recommended to send metta to yourself, because I can sort of try to get away from non-self. But all I know is last night when I was attempting to send out metta to everyone else, and I still had this extreme anxiety, I had this question in my head, but what about me? What about, because when he said bathe in loving kindness, you should also be within that loving kindness that you're donating for others, not sending it but staying out of it, saying, oh, I don't need it. Bathe in it and radiate it out. You have to bathe in it. It feels to me that you have to bathe in the loving kindness, as Ajahn Sona says. Bathe in the loving kindness that you're radiating for yourself and mentally, however you want to send it out to others and visualize them and sending, and whatever thoughts you want to have, I hope they're okay. Whatever the way is that works, or whatever the way is that is appropriate, that you discover is appropriate. But I realized that helped me once I suddenly realized yesterday, it wasn't yesterday, it was early hours of the morning because I couldn't sleep. I realized that I needed to, it worked for me to send it out to myself, to send that message to myself. And I know they don't go along with non-self. I don't know how you would word it. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but in the way that I did it, I think I said my full name, possibly. So however I did it, I did it. And which brings me on to another thing about insomnia. I've been struggling with insomnia, and I had a realization recently, I guess through just thinking about it and through meditation and whatever else, but just thinking about it and remembering also what Yutadami said in one of his videos about insomnia is the worst thing you can do about insomnia is, and this is and my dad used to tell me this for a while as well. He said it in a different way, but he basically said a similar thing in his own way, because I was so stubborn, I would never listen to anyone, and it's still something I'm working on, is a stubbornness. But I realized that, he was right, Yutadami's right, that the worst thing you can do with insomnia is try to go against it, because I think my dad struggled with it for many years, and he basically told me, and I remember what he did, he says, don't worry about sleep, and I'm just never listened to him, literally until yesterday. I've never listened to him, I've never taken what he said. This is why I think parents, as Yutadami said, it was one of the videos, never think that your children aren't listening to what you've said and take on what was said. It's just a matter of time when they're ready to accept what they deep down know to be true, but it's hurtful because that they have more wisdom than you do. I always struggle to accept that, because things that have happened in my family and think, how can I see them as someone that's more wise than me? The things that they've done. But that's partly why. It's partly why the mistakes that they've made, whatever a mistake is as such, because I think there's I don't know if there's any mistakes in the universe. I think everything seems to be linked in with something somewhere else. It doesn't seem that there's much. I mean, maybe there are things as random, but with psychodynamics and the way things are going on between people, when you look back and you have to link things up, it doesn't feel like there's mistake. I mean, no mistakes, but it's complicated. Basically, I'll go further into it, but I'm not qualified to go into that any further. I may not have been. Probably wasn't to even just go into it just there a bit. But what was I saying? Yeah, but I finally took on what he said yesterday, as well as taking on what Yutadami said, but particularly what my dad said, in the sense that, well, I combine the two, because Yutadami said in one of his videos, insomnia is just don't worry about it, don't see it as a problem. Just if you're not sleeping, just don't go to sleep. If you're not tired, or you don't feel you keep lying down, you're not falling asleep or whatever, just rather than do that, just don't go to sleep until you're tired. No, this is what's really interesting. Yutadami said in one of his videos that don't go. He said also in one of his videos, a meditator shouldn't go to sleep. They should lie down mindfully and be mindful, meditate, do lying meditation, and then if they fall asleep, they fall asleep, and which is the best way to fall asleep. Anyway, it's the most peaceful way to fall asleep, and there seems to be less nightmares and things like that. And that's basically saying don't go to lie down in bed, which essentially is preparing to go to sleep. Don't lie down in bed until you're tired. That's the conceptual. That's the way that they present it in what's called the sleep hygiene manual. When they give it to people struggling with mental health, struggling with insomnia, they hand out leaflets on the NHS sleep hygiene. And all of these things: avoiding screens, only go to sleep when you're tired. Don't do exercise just before bed. Do something relaxing. It's like all of that automatically is the case with either as a Buddhist, a simple Buddhist lay life, and particularly, I guess, or or as a monk, they're not going to have screens in the evening automatically, because it's just not part of the way a Buddhist monk lives. And I would say generally, I don't know, lay people, it just depends on what stage they're at. I've still got this attachment a lot to going on the phone, because I feel like I need the distraction, because I just to do something if I can't sleep, and then just fall asleep listening to something or watching something. Just if I can't sleep, I may as well just do something useful. I can't feel like the meditation's not doing anything, so let's just watch a Dharma talk or something. So I'm still very attached to that, but okay, this is still better than the watching the news or other stuff that I still get tempted into watching, and I'm trying to break away from that, to being tempted to watch the news, because I feel worse every time I look at the news and think, okay, what's the point? I'm just looking for ways to feel worse. This is just so pointless, and yeah, all these things that they say in like the sleep hygiene booklet, the NHS and probably other health services say this as well. It's almost like they've just gone to a Buddhist monastery and say, you guys seem so peaceful. Do you have any issues sleeping? Generally not. We just lie down mindfully. You can imagine them happening, like them going to there, trying to get advice, and them writing it down, but them just changing it to be sort of changing it for secular, changing it for people who would be kind of, if they saw something to do with Buddhism, they'd be offended, because and they possibly would be, because obviously there's all different religious views, and so understandably everyone's got their own view, so it's understandable people from a different religious viewpoint could be offended if something religious from another viewpoint is put in their face. But actually it does seem like what they hand out on the NHS and things like that and mental health services seems to be like a watered down, and this is not to, it's just how I see it now. It's not to mean to criticize or offend anyone that has made that booklet. It's just I've noticed it. I mean, it's true what they're saying. It's good advice. They say don't only lie down when you're tired. Don't go to sleep if you're not tired, because you'll just make so many worse, because you'll be struggling, tossing and turning, and then you'll just get more stressed and you'll stay awake longer. And basically what the Buddhist advice would be from I think many monks would be, a meditator shouldn't go to sleep as such. They should just, when they're feeling like they can no longer do sitting meditation or no longer do walking meditation. I don't know what is done prior to lying down. I find normally I do walking, then sitting, and then when I'm nodding and and it's I need to lie down, then I do lying. And also that means that you're not doing too much exercise before bed. If you're walking back and forth and you're doing it habitually, doing it a bit fast, you then maybe now be awake because you'll be too stimulated, which is nothing they say in the booklet. So it's like automatically with the meditation practice, you're following that sleep booklet plus more. There's the sleep hygiene booklet. Sleep hygiene booklet, don't go to sleep if you're not tired. Don't go to bed if you're not tired. Advice for a meditator, don't go to sleep. In other words, the same thing. Don't get in bed. Don't lie down. Generally in the evening, don't lie down unless you really have to. Unless you really feel my head is sensitive off. Unless basically you're feeling tired and you can note tired, and then going to lying down. You can note that mentally, and then note the rising and falling, and note whatever comes up with the same Vipassana technique, lying with the hands or on the abdomen but lying down, and just do the rising and falling as such, and then just keep noting. And then if you start falling asleep, tired, keep noting, and then if you can manage to catch yourself on what, whether you fell asleep on the in-breath or out-breath, I think that's like the kind of one of the advanced points. I haven't got to that stage. I don't know if I've ever fallen asleep and I remembered when I woke up, to fall asleep on the in-breath or the out-breath. But I suppose that can take a very long time to get, or different lengths of time for different people. I'm not sure, but it's just interesting how those two mirror sort of each other. So don't go to sleep unless you're tired, and then advice for a meditator shouldn't go to sleep as such. They should lie down mindfully when they need to. It's just the sort of the next thing, really. It's just, in the first case, it's not included with the meditation, but you're still avoiding the going to sleep factor when you're not tired. When many people try and do that, so I better go to bed, I got work in the morning, and then they think about when they've got to get up, and they're looking at the clock, and I had this for years, like, oh my god, I'm still not asleep, and I was panicking, I'm still not asleep, it's 4 a.m, and all of that was just making it worse. All that actually needs to happen is, the first step can be, what the sleep advice is don't get into bed, don't lie down to go to sleep unless you're tired, and and then you can read. I think reading in bed is fine, because that can kind of, especially if it's like a book where you've kind of got to concentrate, it can kind of tire the mind out and fall asleep. So if you can't, I think reading with a little light or something is okay, and having a hot drink, caffeine free, with the light, I don't see that's a problem. Maybe with a warm light or something. There's different ways, but I just find it really interesting that it gets paralleled, and I suppose a bit like, I think to myself, why don't they just hand out a meditation booklet? Do you know what I mean? Why does the NHS? Because it's funny, the NHS promotes mindfulness, but they only promote it as a way to calm down, which is fine. But with only practicing simply to calm down, you just become a habit now. I'll have to just calm down. I have to do this to calm down. You never see the roots, the real roots of the anxiety, which is the clinging, the aversion. I guess I don't know what always comes first. They seem to play off against each other. Craving or aversion, greed and anger. They bounce back and forth between. It's easy to bounce back and forth between both states, and then obviously just to be in pure delusion as well. But sometimes I think, but as the Buddha never said we are here to change the world. Buddhism is not a proselytizing religion. It's not an evangelical religion, and I'm starting to realize that why is that actually when that desire, that wish, that overexertion to try to get other people to meditate, like, please listen to me, would you try it? I've kind of done that a bit with my parents, but it's coming from the wrong place. It's like I'm saying it because I want to have a better relationship with them, but actually it's me. I'm suffering more than them. Who knows? But who knows? But on the face of it, they're functioning day to day. They're both working, etc., etc. I suppose it's just this craving just to be in awareness with the people I love, rather than always going blah 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 blah. But it's its own selfish motives, and it's more clinging. But even if meditation does start to take you down that road, if you continue meditating, you'll eventually see that, that's another wanting. That's another thing that needs to be done away with, because that's in itself now causing more suffering. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. May all beings be well and happy.